tied with Tampa Bay and you're tied with Atlanta, and you're fighting for first place, and you have a lot of hope. And so I don't know what it is now. The Saints earlier in the seasons were a good November team, and even they were a good September team. And I'm not sure what is happening now in the month of September when they come out of training camp. I'm not sure what happens when they get to the midway point if they're tied. The Saints are no longer a good September, and I'll put it like this, first and third quarter team, because sometimes the first quarter rolls into October and the third quarter rolls into December. They're not a good first quarter team, and they're not a good third quarter team. And Coach Payton has to rectify this. And finally, I'll reiterate what I stated to Deuce and both Brian and Miss Judy. The bottom line is, since August of 2014, 3 preseasons and 3 regular seasons, or really 2 seasons and 3/4 completed, Coach Sean Payton's record is 20-34.
Wow.
And that's not good. They've lost 9 preseason games, 1-1. They've now lost a total of 25 regular season games, and they've won a total of 15 regular season games and 1 preseason. It is a 20-34 record, and I'm just protective of the fans. I live in Atlanta, but I do not like seeing my people, my family, my friends, people that help us with this network, spending their hard-earned money and going into the Superdome now, and you're losing tremendously at home. You're not even winning. Barely. Some games you're winning, or you're at 4-4 for the year. Right now you're at 3-4 at home. You're losing games at home on a regular basis, a venue that at one time you had won 20 straight under Coach Payton. So I'm not sure what the answers are. I don't have any answers with the Saints. They are very perplexing and complex team. I do know that they do have their stinker games. I'm very proud of how they played this year competitively. I think this game was their stinker of all stinker games. In their previous 11 games, they had been in all of them, most of them to the wire. So I cannot say this year that they're a horrible team. They're not. But right now, they are a sub-average team. They can be beaten any given Sunday, and any given Sunday they can beat all other 31 teams if they're on fire. They've got to stop fundamentally. I don't care how they do it. The New Orleans Saints offense has let the team down this year. Their offense has not shown up but in 4 games. And we're masked by the fact that they scored 49 on the Rams, 41 against San Francisco. They scored 41 on Carolina and 34 against the Raiders and 32 against the Falcons. But that's 6 games. The other 6 games, I don't know where Drew Brees and the Saints offense has been, because you have 3 out of the last 4 games where this offense has not scored a touchdown in the first half of the game. And so I've been telling people this. While we've been so focused on the defense over the years, I tell people, go back and watch the game. What you're going to notice as this offense never plays 4 quarters on a regular basis. They score points in bunches. And it looks as though the offense did its job, and then we're pointing and blaming the defense. Yes, the defense did not do the greatest against Matthew Stafford, but they held them to field goals. The score was 19-13 before the B.W. Webb, Von Bell miscue. And still, once again, where was the offense in this game? Maybe your defense was tired because the offense did nothing in this game. So that's my summation of where the Saints are. I agree 1,000% with Deuce. They'll probably go to Tampa Bay and blow Tampa Bay out. I would not be surprised. They'll probably go to Arizona and win, and then come home and lose to Tampa Bay and lose to Atlanta, because that's how the team is now. And it is what it is. So that's my summation of the game and the Saints in 2016 at this point.
Good summation. A lot that has been said and can be said. I think you said it right there, Professor, because when you think about what's happening with the team, And Deuce, I remember telling you and Brian this last week. It's a consistency issue, and it's a consistency issue that starts up above. And whether people like it or not, and I'm not saying do not like Coach Payton, all I'm saying is there's a problem with his play calling. The consistency of his play calling is not there. I know he took the play calling back from Pete Carmichael, but I believe he should focus more on being a head coach versus a play caller right now in his career. Let's hear your thoughts, Deuce.
Well, I think anybody who paid attention last night or got to tune in or didn't, I definitely hit on that point as well. One of the things that I brought up last night is from the fact that, and as Professor was just talking about, and you were talking about, is consistency. The Saints still, even now after a semi-dismal performance against the Lions, are still ranked in the top of the NFL in NFL rankings offensively because of the yards they produce. But what has really dropped off and has been inconsistent, is a better way of putting it, is the scoring offense for the Saints, whereas they used to be not just efficient, but every drive or every other drive led to a score. Whereas now the Saints can go 3, 4, sometimes even 5 drives before they're able to score. And that's a killer for any team. With our defense not being an elite or even above average defense right now, it's tough to ask them to be able to put in the position to hold a team, any team, whether they be good or bad, 8 wins or 4 wins at this point, to hold that team to, say, 1 touchdown and 5 field goals like Detroit, and then expect us to still come out on top. The offense has got to click consistently, and I've been harping on it for weeks now. As much as I like Sean Payton as a coach, I like Carmichael, it's just not flowing anymore. We saw the revenge game. It's like everybody had their mojo back. They were ready to play, and they completely dismantled a top 10, actually top 5 NFL defense in the Rams. Then they come out against the Lions, who, and this isn't an offense to them, they are a division leader. But specifically from a defensive standpoint, they're nowhere on the same caliber as the Los Angeles Rams are, especially when we're looking at that defensive front. Yet that front got so much pressure on Drew Brees. He was out of sync for most of the game. There was simply no rhythm there, and Sean kept trying to run bubble screens and running back screens against zone coverage. Things like that just aren't going to work, yet we kept running it, hoping something would happen. And it's things like that that have caused us to become so inconsistent in scoring offense. It's not that we don't score points. We still score points. It's a consistency thing. And until our team can start building leads and playing with leads, our defense isn't going to have a chance to prosper like they did in 2009, which we talked about last night. And I don't have an answer for how to fix that, because the pieces are there. If you look at the players that we have, you look at the coaching staff, on paper, this offense should be just as good as 2009 or 2011. All the talent is there, with the exception of the offensive line is not the Pro Bowl, All-Pro level it was, 7 years ago. But even with that, they're still the best wide receiver group we've had possibly ever, not counting tight ends. Running back you've got a Pro Bowl running back who's running behind you with a very solid change of pace in Tim Hightower. Drew Brees is still playing at a Hall of Fame, top 3 quarterback at NFL level. So all the pieces are there. They've just yet to be able to put it together for 3 years now. And that's becoming a problem because, like Professor's saying, yes, the defense isn't where it needs to be. Yes, they're not as talented as their offensive counterparts. But you get to a point where you've got to sit here and say, and look, this has always been an offensive-minded team. They're not playing to the ability that they were 2006 or 2011. The 5 years since then, you have seen a change where the team is simply not able, for whatever reason, to score at the same level and consistency that they were against anybody for those 5 years. And even the seasons like 2008, for example, where they weren't a Super Bowl run season or a deep playoff run season, it was still a season where the offense was consistent and we were waiting for the defense to click just enough to get us in. This defense really isn't that bad. they've shown improvement every week. They've had a massive injuries. They've done well. They're not good, but they've done well enough. And if the offense can finally find its mojo that it's been missing for 3 years in terms of consistency, we'll be back to where we need to be. The question is, can we find it? And I honestly don't believe anybody has an answer for it because we don't know why it's not working now.
Good points, man. I do want to kind of pivot into this particular talk right now is because you talked about the scoring has not been as consistent, right, Deuce? One thing that kind of concerns me is the thought process from Sean Payton on some of the play calling has not been as consistent, in my opinion. So if you take the first drive, right, and Sean Payton had a pass to Mark Ingram, another pass to Mark Ingram, and now you're 3rd and 1. Why would we consider a pass again in that instance? That's what concerns me. That was more like an obvious time for you to be able to not throw the ball, but to be able to run the ball. If you didn't want to run it to Ingram, you had a chance to possibly run the football with Kuhn, or I don't know if you had Hightower available at that time to do it with him. But it just seems to me you would not, at 3rd and 1, especially inside the 20-yard line, you would not be calling a play of that nature. Professor, what are your thoughts there?
I didn't understand it, Kyle, at all. And Rev, I did not understand him. It puzzles me, and it's just puzzled me all year. I'm like, dude, I don't have no answers because the Saints have left so many drives between their own 45 and the opponent's 45 that could have at least minimally possibly been a field goal. And it just appears that the strength of the Saints, as Rev stated, is also their weakness. They're so aggressive that they don't know how to be, non-aggressive to the detriment of their winning. Because the Saints easily, I'm just going to go back for a minute, easily could have beaten the Giants, Denver, and we see how pathetic Carolina is. Easily. If the Saints had just went to a short yardage passing game, now we didn't know that Michael Thomas was going to have the bad game he had. But or even if they just put down and say, well, we know we're playing aggressive defenses this week, we're going to cut down the passing and we're going to focus on the running because we got a number 9 ranked running attack. So I don't know why they called what they did on the short yardage plays, but I think my thought process is that the Saints are, at many times, are overly aggressive, and evidently Coach Payton does not know how to relinquish from throwing the ball. You remember, he was our quarterback when we had the strike season. He was a quarterback in the NFL when the players went on strike. So he has that quarterback mentality. And so he throws first and then runs. And he does not want to acquiesce to the talent he had at running back and run first and then throw second. He just simply, for whatever reason, stubbornness. We as men, we can all be stubborn. I know I've been stubborn at times.
Really? Okay, I'm sorry.
Kyle, don't make me send a Wi-Fi signal to you all the way from Atlanta to Houston, and Rev Dukes have to come lay hands on me. So I just think he does not know how to acquiesce to throwing the ball. I mean, every time Drew Brees is throwing the ball 40 times a game, and that seems to be the way they're going to stay. There's nobody can, get him to change this. So I don't know.
Well, I'm just going to say this, guys, and I think a lot of people in the Who Dat Nation want to say this, but I haven't really heard too many people really come out to say this. The inconsistency in not only his play calling, but his inconsistency in how he judges his personnel, and how he